Welcome, welcome, I'm glad you're here with me. Did you know you're one with God for eternity? Welcome, welcome, I'm glad you're here with me. You're not a stranger anymore, now you're family. Welcome, welcome, I'm glad you're here with me. Did you know you're one with God for eternity? Welcome, welcome, I'm glad you're here with me. You're not a stranger anymore, now you're family.
Did it go off? Try it again. Is the green light on?
Button.
Yeah. I had it on. No.
Oh, there, maybe. There we are. It happened. Okay. So once again, my name is Emily, and I am the chairperson today to welcome you as family. We are family in union with God and every soul here today, and with every soul on the universe, who's ever been, whoever will be. Everybody welcome. I confess I don't really know where I'm going to go with this today, because when I realized just yesterday that the word for the day is freedom, I mean, what do you say about a big word like freedom? But as I thought about it, what do I want freedom from? What do I want freedom for? This came to mind. What I want freedom from is everything that would keep me from being all that I can be, all that I was created to be, all that I am, all that I'm here to do. Freedom from all of that. And I want the freedom to be just like my Cocker Spaniel dog, Joey. Because he is completely convinced that he's just here to love everybody and for everybody to love him right back. Frequently, I take him to my office. He greets everybody as though, would you do anything else but love me? I mean, he's practically in their lap. I really want to be like that. Wouldn't you? Yeah. That sure of yourself, that sure of your lovability, you're sure of your just rightness in that moment to be there, to be present. Wow. I really can't think of anything greater than that. On the heels of that, I remembered a friend passed on a book to me. The full name of it I don't remember, but it has something to do with higher consciousness, and it's written by Ken Keyes and is highly recommended by Neil Donald Walsh, who thinks highly of him. And he talks about thoughts as addictive things. And he says this. He has 12 pathways to higher consciousness. The first set of 3 are about freeing oneself. And the very first one has to do with freeing myself from security, sensation, and power addictions that make me try to forcefully control situations in my life and thus destroy my serenity and keep me from loving myself and others. Freedom from that tendency for security, sensation, and power. Those are thought addictions, not usually as we think about the word addiction. But their addictive power over us is greater than any opioid or fentanyl or any of the other addictive substances. They control us at an unconscious level, and often we're really quite incapable of overriding them because of past conditioning, experiences. Something really neat happened last week. We were blessed with a duo minister team. Mary Pat and Tom went. And they were so elated with themselves at the end of their talk that as they were leaving the podium, Tom was impelled to reach out for Mary Pat's hand and withdrew it as quickly as he reached out. And a friend saw that and asked him about it. And it made him aware. It really had been, this whole idea of addictive thoughts had been really a big part of conversation the night before. And so that was kind of in his mind. But it really made him aware of the situation. Because every impulse in his physical body, emotional body, mental body, was to reach out for his wife's hand in celebration of what they had just accomplished. And his years of training as a minister forced him to withdraw it. That's how addictive those kinds of thoughts are. So we all have them. And I'm going to stop right there. And I will pick up with that as I read, as you listen to and as you read along with me, the daily word. Because Unity offers a wonderful toolbox of forgiveness and gratitude. It is through gratitude and forgiveness of ourselves, of all of those who've been a part of entraining our minds in beliefs that are really invalid. And just as addictive substances harm us, they harm us also because they prevent us from being our wonderful, complete, whole, and perfect self. So now it's time to go on and celebrate just who we are right here. So with me, the mission.
Slides.
Just a second here. We'll get there. Okay? And so in unison, with one voice, let's say together our vision. A word powerfully transformed through shared spiritual awakening. And on to our mission statement. Advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity. A positive path for spiritual living. Please say with us our values: abundance, acceptance, community, diversity, integrity, joy, and love. And together we celebrate our children. Unity of Appleton sees the divinity in all children and nurtures their unfolding spirituality. And now for the daily word. And the big word, freedom. Taking responsibility for my life leads me to freedom. Each life has its share of ups and downs. Like most people, I have felt blessed by my happy experiences and laid low by my more difficult ones. I have used the spiritual tools of forgiveness and gratitude to learn from and move beyond my more painful experiences. This kind of spiritual housekeeping is my key to lasting freedom. By releasing blame and regret over and over and over again if necessary, I am ensuring that I will not be bound by the past and limited by an outworn image of myself. Life is dynamic, and so am I. My growth is dependent upon my forward movement, and I commit to embracing the freedom that comes from leaving the past behind. With gratitude, I bless the person I was. With faith, I reach unencumbered for the person I'm becoming. And from Galatians, for you were called to freedom, brothers and sisters. And together, let's repeat the phrase at the top. Taking responsibility for my life leads me to freedom. And we have a song next. Another beautiful song. Okay.
Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh.
I messed up tonight. I lost another fight. Lost to myself, but I'll just start again. I keep falling down. I keep on hitting the ground, but I always get up now to see what's next. Birds don't just fly, they fall down and get up. Nobody learns without getting it wrong. I won't give up, no, I won't give in till I reach the end, and then I'll start again. No, I won't leave. I want to try everything I want to try, even though I could fail. I won't give up, no, I won't give in till I reach the end, and then I'll start again. No, I won't leave. I want to try everything I want to try, even though I could fail.
Oh, 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 oh.
Try everything.
Oh, 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 oh.
Try everything.
Oh, 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 oh.
Try everything.
Oh, 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 oh.
Look how far you've come. You filled your heart with love. Baby, you've done enough. Take a deep breath. Don't beat yourself up. No need to run so fast. Sometimes we come last, but we did our best. I won't give up, no, I won't give in till I reach the end, and then I'll start again. No, I won't leave. I want to try everything I want to try, even though I could fail. I won't give up, no, I won't give in till I reach the end, and then I'll start again. No, I won't leave. I want to try everything I want to try, even though I could fail. I'll keep on making those new mistakes. I'll keep on making them every day. Those new mistakes.
Oh, 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 oh.
Try everything.
Oh, 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 oh.
Try everything.
Oh, 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 oh.
Try everything.
Oh, 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 oh. Try everything.
Okay, so today we have things a little out of ordinary because Reverend Phil is going to do our service, our talk, through Zoom. I think you'll be seeing him on the big screen up. Big screen. Hey. Woo. Reverend Phil has been doing a series of workshops for those at Unity. He has been in the ministry for 45 years and is a certified Unity Worldwide Ministries Transitional Ministry Specialist. Reverend Phil has served as a transition specialist in Santa Barbara, California, Oak Park, Illinois, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Hartford, Connecticut, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and several ministries in Minnesota, where he and his wife live, and also Unity of Appleton right here. We're added to his list, gang. Wow. So, Steve, are we ready to tune in to Reverend Phil? Hey, there he is. Okay. Hi, Reverend Phil. Okay, wave to him. I don't know if he can see you or not, but we'll see. Okay.
All right. Good morning, everyone. And greetings once again from my home in Burnsville, Minnesota. It's always an honor and pleasure to be with you. Thanks for that great music, and what a wonderful daily word, just totally appropriate for my message this morning. One day, in a small town somewhere, there was a woman who was 80 years old and got married for the fourth time. She got married to a funeral director, and the radio station in town decided to interview her. So the interviewer asked about her life and how it felt to get married at the age of 80, and a little bit about her husband. And of course, then she told him that he was a funeral director. And the interviewer said, well, how interesting. And just out of curiosity, would you be willing to tell us a little bit about the three men you had married before? And she said, well, in my early 20s, I married a banker. Then, when I was in my early 40s, I married a circus ringmaster. And then when I was 60, I married a minister. And of course now, I just married a funeral director. Interviewer said, well, what an interesting choice of partners. Was there anything that attracted you to such a diverse group? She smiled and she said, well, I married one for the money, two for the show, three to get ready, and four to go. The title of my message this morning is The Empowerment Dynamic. And it's based on one of my favorite books, which is called The Power of TED. TED stands for The Empowerment Dynamic. It's all about Unity's third basic principle, which is that our thoughts are creating our reality. Or the way I like to put it is our most deeply held beliefs and emotions are constantly creating our experience in life. David Emerson, the author of that book, The Power of TED, said in the book, much of the world is sleepwalking through life, firmly rooted in victim consciousness and not being aware of it. We in Unity would agree, as would Dr. Wayne Dyer. I'd like to share something with you from his book, Manifest Your Destiny. Here's Wayne Dyer. I come from the position that there are absolutely no accidents, and that everything that occurs in my life has a lesson attached to it, and that I brought it into my life. As this sense of responsibility has grown, he said, I find it impossible to blame anyone or anything in my life. From the most inconsequential things, such as bumping my head or cutting my finger, or others not showing up on time, to major life disappointments in my relationship with my wife and the rest of my family. The willingness to be responsible without complaining, he said, puts you into the natural flow of divine energy. It keeps you from having to fight the world, allowing you to flow with it. And then he continues, everything that you complain about puts you in a position of figuratively having to take up arms against it and fight. Well, everything that you need to fight, he said, weakens you, while that which you are for empowers you. In psychology, there is a well-known schematic called the drama triangle. I asked if you could each have a pen and paper this morning. I'm going to ask you to draw 2 equilateral triangles. The first one is called the drama triangle. So this is just, kind of a picture of drawing it. On the top of the triangle, at the top point, you could write the word victim. On the lower left corner, you could write the word rescuer. And on the lower right-hand corner, you could write the word persecutor. We've all felt like victims in life. I've often had the thought that we should have an organization called Victims Anonymous. Hi, my name is Phil, and I felt like a victim this past week. Also, we've all tried being rescuers. Maybe we should also have an organization called Rescuers Anonymous. Hi, my name is Phil, and I tried to rescue somebody this week. And also, we've all been persecutors, often without intending to be. Here are a few characteristics of victim consciousness. And by the way, I think one of my favorite expressions of victim consciousness was something I saw when I was the minister for 6 years in Key West, Florida. In the cemetery there's a gravestone with the person's name on the top, and below it, a saying that says, "I told you I was sick." Victims believe that they are helpless, that they're powerless, and that they're done to. Have you ever felt like that? I know I sure have. Victims see life as a problem to be solved rather than as an adventure to be lived. So they're hypervigilant. I once heard a Unity minister say something I've never forgotten, which was, a problem is an opportunity wrongly considered, and an opportunity is a problem rightly considered. For victims, their emotions are mostly fear-based. They're always ready to fight, flee, or freeze. Victims focus on what they don't want rather than on what they do want. Victims actually need to have a problem to solve, even though they probably are not aware of that consciously. Then we have rescuers. Rescuers need victims because they need to have someone to save or fix so they can keep their low self-esteem from coming to the surface. For rescuers, saving victims gives them a sense of superiority and purpose. Rescuers foster dependency. They disempower people by doing it for them. And finally, we have persecutors. A persecutor is anyone or anything that looks like he, she, or it is doing it to you. A persecutor can be a person, an event, or a body issue. Couples often take turns playing victim, rescuer, and persecutor to each other. We call them codependent relationships. When my wife Lura and I were teaching our courses in deep transformation, we used to call them need-obligate relationships, because in those relationships, couples take turns being the needy one, and then if the other person is the needy one, they're obligated to help them or to rescue them. All three of these, victims, rescuers, and persecutors, are based on fear and what I call our ego identity. And remember, when I use the term ego, what I mean is that our ego is who we believe we are when we feel separate from God and separate from each other. This message today is about how to move from the drama triangle to what the author of the book calls the empowerment dynamic. I want to emphasize how important this is to having a healthy spiritual community, because a healthy spiritual community is one where we practice empowering each other rather than saving each other. So here's how we do that. To move from the drama triangle to the empowerment dynamic, we first have to give up that delicious to the ego feeling of being done to. Do you know about that feeling, being delicious? I can tell you I sure do. Next, we refuse to see ourselves and others as victims. Instead, we practice seeing all of us as creators. And so here's that other triangle, the empowerment dynamic it's called. And once again, we have an equilateral triangle. And at the top point, you could write creator. On the lower left corner, you could write challenger. And on the lower right corner, you can write coach. For creators, life is an adventure to be lived, not a problem to be solved. For creators, the basic assumption is we each have all the resources that we need to deal successfully with whatever we're dealing with. For creators, the focus is on what we do want, not on what we don't want. The focus is on what we want to be, to do, and to create. For creators, our motivation is to fully express ourselves and to live our vision. Then we have challengers. A challenger, like a persecutor, can be a person, an event, or a body issue. A challenger calls for the creator to grow and to acquire new insights and new skills. I was listening one time to Unity's radio program that Unity had put out for many years. And the guest on the show was someone named Lura, who said that she had recently been diagnosed with an autoimmune form of arthritis. And the way the doctor explained it to her, she said, he explained that her body was attacking itself, that her body was actually attacking her joints. And at first she thought, well, how crazy is that, to have a body that's attacking itself? But then she thought to herself, you know what? That is a perfect mirror of my mind, because in my disease of perfectionism, as she called it, I attack myself constantly. Anytime I think I'm not doing it perfectly. So right then and there, she decided to go on a big program of loving herself unconditionally, loving and accepting every part of herself, loving herself, not attacking herself. And the more she did that, the more her body healed itself. It truly was a challenger, not a persecutor. Like Laura, if I have a challenging person, event, or issue in my life, I don't feel victimized by it, at least not for long. I look for the gifts it has for me, including what it has to teach me, instead of who's to blame or who's at fault. Blame and fault are actually ego concepts. They have nothing to do with personal responsibility. I was thinking back on a time in my life when, this is way back in the 80s, I was a minister in Hawaii and I was still smoking, actually pretty heavily. Every morning I would go to a restaurant in Honolulu called the Yum Yum Tree, which had an outdoor part of it and an indoor part. The outdoor part was smoking. And so that's where I went every morning, and I'd work on affirmations and I'd work on whatever I was working on for work. And one day at a table next to me, a man who had been sitting there several mornings with me kind of exploded, and he said, "You know, you're ruining my mornings here with your smoking. Why don't you give yourself and the world a break and stop that habit?" Well, I was incensed. I mean, who was he to tell me not to smoke and not in a smoking section? And I said something to that effect. But when I left and started thinking about it, I realized I had been trying to quit smoking, or thinking about it anyway, for the last year or two. And finally, this was the thing that really put me over the top. And I actually did stop smoking about a month or two later. Then, a year after that, I was at the same restaurant and I saw this same fellow. And I walked up to him, and I think he was a little afraid of me at first. I walked up to him and I said, "I want to thank you because you really supported me in doing something that I had been wanting to do. And what you said was kind of the thing that put me over the top." And I shook his hand. It was like a real experience of going from being persecuted to knowing this fellow as a challenger. Jack Canfield, the co-author of all of those Chicken Soup for the Soul books, tells a story in his book, The Success Principle. And here it is. He said, "Back in 1969, I had the good fortune to work for W. Clement Stone. He was worth $600 million. Stone was also America's premier success guru. He was the publisher of Success magazine. Jack says, "When I was completing my first week's orientation, Mr. Stone asked me if I took 100% responsibility for my life. I think so," I responded. Mr. Stone said, "This is a yes or no question, young man. You either do or you don't." Jack said, "Well, I guess I'm not sure." Stone said, "Have you ever blamed anyone for any circumstance in your life? Have you ever complained about anything?" Jack said, "Oh, yeah, I guess I have." Stone said, "Don't think, guess." Jack said, "Yes, I have." Stone said, "Okay then. That means you don't take 100% responsibility for your life. If you did, you would acknowledge that you were creating everything that happens to you. It means you understand that you are the cause of your experience. If you want to be really successful," he said, "and I know that you do, then you will have to give up blaming and complaining and take total responsibility for your life, both your successes and your failures. That," he said, "is the prerequisite for creating a life of success. It is only by acknowledging that you have created everything up until now that you can take charge of creating the future that you want." Stone said, "Jack, if you realize that you have created your current conditions, then you can uncreate them and recreate them at will. Do you understand that?" Jack said, "Yes, sir, I do." Stone, "Are you willing to take 100% responsibility for your life?" "Yes, sir," Jack said, and he said, "And I did." Then we have coaches. Coaches see everyone as a creator, even those who see themselves as victims. Coaches see everyone as whole and creative, including themselves. Coaches don't rescue. They ask, what gifts or gift do you want from this? Coaches empower people, including themselves, to realize, and this is something I'm going to ask you to affirm, everything I need is already within me. Would you know that with me? Everything I need is already within me. In my years as a minister, I've done a lot of counseling, and it has actually been quite common for people to ask me what they should do. In the first few years of ministry, I sometimes took the bait and told them what I thought they should do. And then there was a point where I realized, that's just not helpful. So what I learned to do was to ask them, what does your guidance say to do? And then realize that my job at that point, if they didn't know how to get in touch with their guidance, was to teach them how to do that. How do we move from victim to creator? First, we practice knowing everything in my life is for me. It is all my idea. A Course in Miracles tells us, everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. Next, we ask, what gift or gifts do I want from this creation? When we ask that question, every persecutor becomes a challenger. And then next, we practice knowing. I always know what I want. I'm going to ask you to join me in saying that out loud too. And before I do that, I will tell you that this is one thing that my wife Lura and I, in our teaching of our school these many years, we have discovered that every single person we have worked with, actually, we all know what we want, even if we don't consciously know what we want. Somewhere inside ourselves, we do. So would you know with me, I always know what I want? Together? I always know what I want. And another one would be, I always focus on what I want, not on what I don't want. So let this be a week of empowerment, knowing everything and everyone in my life is for me. Would you know that with me out loud? Everything and everyone in my life is for me. They each have gifts I want to receive. There's an old book called Illusions by Richard Bach, which was a bestseller many years ago. It was all about someone this was The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah. And the Messiah had a Messiah's handbook. I always loved that. And one of the pages of the Messiah's handbook says, every problem comes to you with a gift in its hands. In the late 1800s, there was a teacher named Emma Curtis Hopkins. We might call her the mother of New Thought because she was the teacher of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. She was the teacher of Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science. And she was the teacher of the Brooks sisters, who founded divine science. One time she was dealing with something in her life that she was having trouble with. And after stewing about it for a little while, she said, I'm going to start knowing this too is good. This too is God. This too is for me. And I insist on seeing the blessing in it. So I'm going to ask you right now, if you would, to think of someone or something in your life that has seemed to be against you. And then I'm going to ask you to know with me, this too is good. This too is God. This too is for me. And I insist on seeing the blessing in it. I came across a story not long ago about a barber in, we'd call it maybe a medium-sized town. He'd been a barber there for years and years. Then at one point, a discount barbershop moved into town, part of a chain. And people started going to this new barbershop and less to him. In fact, his business kept dwindling and getting smaller and smaller. Finally, one day he was talking to his son on the phone. His son was a marketing expert. And his son said, "Dad, you know, there's no such thing as a problem that doesn't have a solution. So what do you think the solution might be?" The dad said, "Well, the only solution I can see is closing my shop." And the son said, "Well, let's brainstorm about some other possibilities." So they talked about maybe they could do some coupons, or maybe they could put flyers all over town. And then after about 20 minutes, they hit upon an idea, and they knew that this was the one. So the dad, the barber, put a big sign on the top of his shop. The sign said, "We fix $6 haircuts." And from that point on, he had more business than he knew what to do with. So this week, practice seeing and knowing yourself as a creator. This is how we accept our God-given inheritance, which is our divine power of creation. Namaste.
Thank you, Phil. I now invite you to begin to prepare yourself for reflective personal prayer and guided musical meditation, after which I ask that you remain in essential silence during the music. If you choose to, you may close your eyes. Feel the weight of your body as it relaxes into your chair and you let go of today's anxieties. Feel your feet on the solid earth beneath as you let go of tomorrow's worries. Become aware in this moment of your breathing. As you breathe in life and breathe out love. Breathe in life and breathe out love. And as you become centered, focus your attention on your beautiful heart, your beautiful Christ self, and become filled with gratitude. And allow into yourself that which fills you with peace and light. And so we begin. And now I invite you to gently return to this place.
That was beautiful. Now we move from meditation to our affirmation of prosperity. This is the time in our service when those of us who think of Unity of Appleton as our spiritual home practice, putting spirit first in our financial life. We know that when we do this, not only does it prosper the spiritual community we love, it also supports our own spiritual growth and prosperity. Let this be a time to connect with the guidance of Spirit in you and give whatever amount Spirit guides you to give. Whatever that amount is this morning, you might take it in your hand and bless it with your love. If you are one of the growing number of us who give electronically, take the gift into your heart. Feel free to bless the plate as it passes by. Let yourself feel grateful as you can to God in you as your one source. And then please join in our affirmation of prosperity. And with me, please say this. Unity of Appleton is alive with the energy of Spirit, in the flow of divine abundance, and radiant with unlimited possibilities. And our celebration of giving and receiving. Divine love, in and through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I joyfully give and willingly receive. I give in love, and I trust God as my source.
ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. It's in every one of us to be loved. Fill your heart open to skies above. We can all love everyone without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by.
Announcements.
Announcements, forgot about that. Okay, I will read and you can read along with me. As we hold the Ukrainian people in our hearts and prayers, we are open to help in other ways. We are collecting monetary donations for Wisconsin Ukrainians, Inc., which provides goods to refugees. A donation basket is on the greeter table. Please sign up at the Connect and Serve table to make coffee. Takes a few minutes of your morning, and thanks to the Way of Heart group for volunteering to clean up after our coffee time and when they're all done.
Emily, can I read that slide for you?
Sure.
You have to have a magic device. Honoring our past, creating our future workshop is canceled due to low registration. The board will be holding some town hall meetings in the near future for discussions, suggestions, and information.
Okay. Any other announcements, Steve? Or Anja? No, that's it. Okay, now we can stand up. Okay. You know, this goes so well and perfectly with those 5 unity principles. Keep those in mind. They are correlated, and it just empowers them to be and do greater good in your life. So together. The
Light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
You are blessed. It's
Yep.
a blessing. Get on with it.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about your shining light. It's very bright. I think about the soul you are, your love and light. So happy together. If I should see you there, oh where, and you say you're a part of me, and ease my mind, imagine how the world would be so very fine, so happy together. I can see you loving the soul that is you for all of time. When you share your love, then the skies will be blue. be. The loving way is me for you, and you for me, so happy together.